This is the third best Spider-Man movie, which is saying something. Up until Into the Spider-Verse, this was the second best. Maybe just for me. I really, really like Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. But whatever. We're talking about Captain America kind of universe. We're talking about the MCU. First of all, the framing is different because the dog, who's over there staring out the window, she broke my lens. So I'm using a very extended telephoto lens kind of thing. So yeah, the camera's further away, I couldn't get everything right. Anyway, sorry about all the technical stuff. This is the video. Spider-Man Homecoming is a lot of fun. I really, really like this movie. On an objective movie kind of review way of talking about it, the worst thing is it's a little too long. It's over 2 hours. I think there's too many action sequences in it. There's kind of 3 big set pieces. There is the attack at the, well, not even attack, the accident at the Washington Monument. There's the ferry sequence, and then there's the giant plane taking off at the end, the big fight with Vulture. I don't know, it's too many. I'm kind of done with this movie by the time it ends. But whatever, it's a lot of fun. Tom Holland is magnificent in this movie. As Spider-Man. Zendaya as Michelle, aka MJ, is really, really great and a wonderful new take on an old character. And I forgot his name, but Ned, the guy in the computer, may be the best addition to Spider-Man lore that I've seen in a long time. It's great that he has a best friend who's also a geek. Historically speaking, Spider-Man, his best friend was the Green Goblin, the Green Goblin's kid, Harry Osborn, who was not a geek. He was always rich and kind of popular and all that shit. Makes way more sense that Peter Parker's best friend would be a big old geek just like him. The rest of the cast is great. Donald Glover shows up in a little cameo bit as, I believe his name is Aaron Johnson, who is Miles Morales' uncle, which we know from Spider-Man Homecoming or from the comics. It would be great to see Donald Glover play the Prowler. Google it if you don't know why it's awesome that Donald Glover's in this movie. Who else? We got Marisa Tomei coming back from Civil War. She's great in this movie. Heartbreaking and motherly and sweet and sexy and all the things that you want Marisa Tomei to be. You've got Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man / Tony Stark, which is my big issue with the movie as a Spider-Man fan, and we'll get there. But he's good in the movie. It continues his arc. It continues his story arc very well. You have Jon Favreau as Happy, I'm always happy when Jon Favreau's around. And then, of course, you've got Michael Keaton as the main villain, the Vulture, a.k.a. Toombs, and a bunch of other teenage actors who are all really good. The kid who plays the Flash, Flash Thompson, not the Flash, that'd be weird. The kid who plays Flash Thompson is fantastic. I love that they changed Flash Thompson from being like a rich white guy who's kind of a jock and I'm so tough, into kind of a modern bully who is just like a dickhead, who's also rich, but like he's just kind of a shithead. He's not like I'm gonna punch Peter in the face. I'm gonna bully you via verbal intimidation. Love Flash Thompson in this movie, and all the rest of the supporting cast in the Quiz Bowl League is also great. But yeah, let's talk about Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's one of my favorite actors of all time. Before all this MCU shit started, the best superhero movies I'd ever seen were Spider-Man 2 by Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, and Batman, '89. And I gotta tell you, they're both still up there. Michael Keaton was my first Batman. He's Batman to me. And watching his career kind of blossom over the last 5, 6, 7 years has been lovely. He was in Birdman, he was in Spotlight, both of which won Best Picture. Michael Keaton's a fucking brilliant goddamn actor. Beetlejuice is a huge childhood favorite. In this movie, he is almost kind of the main character in a weird way, narratively speaking. The inciting incident is way back during the events of the Avengers, right after the events of the Avengers, where he's kind of like a construction guy who's going to salvage all the destroyed shit after the attack on New York during the Avengers, and he needs to kind of... The idea is he's a blue-collar working man who needs to salvage his life and try to find a way to survive in this new world that involves aliens and Hulks and, all kinds of Iron Men and stuff like that. He's really, 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 really good. The best scene in the movie from a like acting point of view, is probably when Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, is in the car with Michael Keaton, and he says, like, does my daughter know? She doesn't know. That's good. I'm gonna kill you if you tell her. You saved her life, but like you get one chance. All that shit's great. Michael Keaton's a really, really cool villain. It's a lot of fun, this movie. I think it's a little bit too long, but hey, maybe that's just me. From a Spider-Man point of view, and I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm a Spider-Man fan. From a Spider-Man fan point of view, I have issues with he didn't build his own suit, Tony gave it to him. I have issues with Tony is the guy who says, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It isn't Peter who comes up with the friendly neighborhood part. I have issues with the voice in his head. I have issues with, the 428 different variations of web slinging he can do. Spider-Man's not the guy. He's not Tony Stark's ward. He's not Robin. And the movie very much is that kind of story. The big emotional moment at the end of the flick, where Peter Parker has been kind of leveled by the bad guys under a shitload of rubble, and he's lifting up. Well, he's stuck. He's calling, help, I'm fucking 15. And he's trying to lift up a building, basically. It's a really great Spider-Man moment, but the soundtrack brings back a line of dialogue from earlier in the movie in voiceover, and is like, it's Tony saying, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it. I didn't need that voiceover. Just like let Peter Parker be the fucking main character of this movie. And he is, but it's also kind of Tony's story as well. It's playing off of Tony's daddy issues. It's playing with the idea that Captain America's gone. This takes place post-Civil War. He needs a new team. He feels a responsibility to this kid. He wants to uplift him. Tony has kind of a bigger arc as a character in terms of changing from point A to point B. Tony changes more than Peter Parker does. Peter Parker grows up a little bit, but he was always Spider-Man. That's kind of the point of Spider-Man. You are Spider-Man. It's inside of you. So I have issues with it as a Spider-Man fan, which all that shit got solved in Spider-Man: Homecoming. But yeah, it's not a bad movie by any means. I love this flick. It's so much fun. Tom Holland is a amazingly charismatic actor. And an amazingly physical actor. The amount of stuff he does in the suit. If you watch the behind the scenes stuff, it's not always a stunt guy. It's usually him doing a lot of that stuff. The physicality, the way Spider-Man moves. It's all really good. There's not a false note performance-wise. There are some plot hole kind of moments for me because it's Spider-Man. Like that scene I love where Michael Keaton tells him, you get one chance to walk into that homecoming and pretend this never happened. It's Spider-Man. Just punch him in the face as hard as you can. He's got super strength. You could have just, knocked out Michael Keaton and called the police. But that's not what happens. Minor fan nitpicky shit. Overall, this is a pretty great movie. And it's a real homage to kind of John Hughes. It feels like a John Hughes movie. There is a Ferris Bueller reference in the fucking movie. It's very much a high school story about, hey, I gotta go do homework, and I've got quiz bowl, but I also want to do more with my life, and it's all the things you want from a high school coming-of-age story. I don't know the actress's name, but the girl who plays Liz, the romantic interest in the movie, is really, really good. I love the fact that it isn't Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy. The movie's biggest strength is that it doesn't rely on stuff we already know. When we meet Spider-Man, we don't meet him before he becomes Spider-Man. We know what happened to Spider bit him. There isn't references to Harry Osborn or Mary Jane till the very end, or Gwen Stacy or the Daily Bugle. He's not even in Photography Club. They're just telling a story on its own. Now, don't get me wrong. Another big problem I have with the flick is that Ben Parker does not get mentioned at all. There are references to, I can't do this to Aunt May. She's been through so much already. But for me as a Spider-Man fan, you've got to fucking reference Ben. Even if it was only just a picture on the wall that Spider-Man looks at occasionally, you gotta, that's why he is who he is, he doesn't say it in these movies, but the whole point of Spider-Man, and kind of the point of being a good human in general, is, with great power comes great responsibility. And they won't say the line, and I get it, it's been said too many times, but I really wish Ben Parker's ghost, spiritual form was still around in this movie, you know? That's the thing that's motivating this kid. He lost his father figure, and I don't even know how, because they don't get into it, but like, it's important that we know why he's doing this. He can't just be a kid who likes Iron Man. And that's kind of how this feels. It's more like, you know, he got bit by a spider, and then he likes Iron Man a lot, so that's why he wants to be a hero. That's more what's going on. The big father figure in this movie isn't Ben Parker, a deceased father figure. The father figure in this movie is Tony Stark. And they have great chemistry together. They're acting, those scenes are fucking fantastic. After the ferry sequence up on the roof, where Peter's like, this wouldn't have happened if you just fucking listened to me. You know, I told you these weapons are out there, and it's all like compelling, accurate stuff, but he's a teenager, so he can't communicate properly. And he says, you know, if you really cared, you'd be here. And the suit opens up and Tony steps out. That's a powerful father-son moment. Like, it's a good movie. It's just kind of a shit Spider-Man movie. For me, a hardcore Spider-Man fan. My other big nitpick on this thing is, I don't like that it's called Spider-Man Homecoming. Yes, the climax happens on Homecoming night, but the movie isn't built up to Homecoming. It's built up to Moving Day, because the plot is, you know, Michael Keaton is going to use alien technology or leftover Stark technology and sell it on the black market to make weapons. So at the end of the movie, Tony's unloading everything from Stark Tower and moving it out to the Avengers facility in Long Island or Staten Island, wherever it is. So the climax involves that plane, and they're moving everything. It's Moving Day. They're moving all the shit. It's, you know, it's Thor's magic belt and fucking the designs for Cap's new shield, blah, blah, blah. Fun little Easter egg stuff. But that's the thing. It's Moving Day. So Spider-Man Moving Day would have worked. Homecoming, it's there. Like, we know that Homecoming's coming, but, like, Peter isn't, like, his goal throughout the movie is not to get a date to Homecoming. He just kind of asks the prettiest girl in school, and she just says yes because she doesn't have a date. It doesn't ring true to me at all as a former high school student. She's a senior, he's a sophomore. She's gorgeous, he's a nerd, he's in detention all the time. She's running the homecoming committee. No fucking way does she not have a date. But regardless, like, for Peter, it isn't about, like, I want to go to homecoming. And it could have worked if the climax involved homecoming somehow. If the plane crashed near the school, he got to save the students, something. Which they do during the Washington, D.C. sequence. Honestly, the first hour and 10 minutes of this movie is almost more than enough for me. There's a lot of things that happen in this movie. Like I said, there's a bunch of action sequences, and there's some inconsistencies I don't like. You know, Peter Parker as Spider-Man at one point gets slammed into a brick mailbox, and the bricks crumble. But later on, he's like in a truck. He jumps straight up and hits his head on the roof, and that knocks him out cold. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But whatever. I really, really dislike the fact that he's got an AI in his head like Jarvis. It is really, really cute that the voice of the AI is Jennifer Connelly. This is real, like, inside baseball, but Paul Bettany voiced Jarvis, and now he plays Vision. And Jennifer Connelly is married to Paul Bettany, and she voices Tony's Karen in his head. That's just cute. And it's a cute movie. Like, there are references throughout it that I really like. At the end of the flick, where Tony offers Peter the suit, like, look, it's the Iron Spider suit. You want to be an Avenger? And I love the fact that Peter says, no, I don't want the suit. I'd rather be on the ground level, stay in the neighborhood. Nice, compelling character arc stuff. But there actually is a press conference happening, and they need to announce something. So Tony says, oh, I don't know, hey, Happy, you still got that ring? And Forever's like, the ring? Yeah, I got the ring. I've been holding on to this since 2008. That's when Iron Man came out. That's when Jon Favreau, who plays Happy, directed Iron Man. Like, it's just cute. Like, it's a fun movie. I don't quite understand who the Avengers are at this point. There's lots of talk of, are you an Avenger? You're going to join the Avengers team. You're going to be the newest Avenger. So there's Iron Man, and Vision, and War Machine. Everybody else is on Cap's side, right? Because he's like an international criminal? I don't know. Whatever. In terms of the phase 3 of it all, this movie's a shitload of fun. It is a great origin story, standalone story, which I think Marvel should do more of. It doesn't always have to be, like, intricately woven into the narrative. This movie gives us a Spider-Man flick, and sets up the idea that he's around if you need him. Which is basically what happens in Infinity War, you know. Shit goes down in New York, Spider-Man senses it, swings in to save the day. So it's really, really good. As a Spider-Man fan, I have massive problems with it because Spider-Man shouldn't be wearing Tony Stark armor. He should have his own suit. But whatever. It's still fantastic, and as far as end tags go, I'm not going to bother editing one in. The tags this time around are just about Spider-Man. At the end of the movie, obviously Michael Keaton's The Vulture is caught. He is put in jail, and the guy in jail has like he's approached by somebody in prison with a scorpion tattoo. Like, that's kind of cool, he's Scorpion. And he's like, hey, I heard that you might know who Spider-Man is. And Michael Keaton says, if I knew who he was, he'd be dead already. So, like, the idea that he's keeping Peter Parker secret for him is really cool. And it fits with his character. Family's most important. This kid saved his daughter's life and saved his life. He's not going to destroy this teenage kid's life. But I do very much want a sequel. And I like the fact that the very last shot is Aunt May finding out that her nephew is Spider-Man. It's pretty great. So the next one, Far From Home, is coming out in a couple months, right after Infinity War, or Endgame, sorry, Infinity War 2, Endgame. You'll see my thoughts on it. This is a great goddamn movie, mostly because of the cast and the high school story nature of it all. I think it's a little bit all over the place in terms of what Peter's goals are. Like, he wants to become an Avenger, and by the end of the movie he realizes he shouldn't be an Avenger. But it's also about decathlon and girl stuff and Aunt May. Like, I wish there was more of a driving one big goal for him. And I guess there is. Like, he wants to be an Avenger, but the thing is, like, he loses that goal about an hour before the end of the movie. The ferry sequence is fun to watch, but it is kind of the low point for me as a fan. Like, big action sequence, bad guy gets away, Tony Stark's angry. We know the conventions of storytelling at this point. This is the part where Spider-Man's gonna get his suit taken away and go to detention forever. It's just not all that compelling. Plus, I've seen Spider-Man do the Jesus pose before, and he did it on the train in Spider-Man 2, and I like that sequence better. So yeah, I have nitpicks with it. I think it's not the best Spider-Man movie, but it's a fucking fun movie for sure. The soundtrack's great. The score is a lot of fun, and I really, really like these characters. So and honestly, that's why the MCU has done what it's done. So, yeah, I have nothing but nice things to say about it as a movie. As a Spider-Man fan, I have some complaints. But yeah, these characters are fantastic, and I can't wait to hang out with them again in Far From Home. So that's it. That's my thoughts on Spider-Man. In case you didn't know, my name is George Efta. And this has been Marvel Rewind episode whatever, Spider-Man Homecoming. Thwip.